Well, the Christian Learning Center got started out of a very challenging situation. The only Christian special education program in this community, which happened to be operating just a little ways from here in Cutlerville, was shutting down. It was a separate school, a segregated school, and it was shutting down. That was a challenge to those of us who cared about kids with disabilities and wanted Christian schooling for them. So we responded to that challenge by gathering a group of advocates to go to the Grand Rapids Christian schools and say, help us start a program to serve them. And that was where the first school within a school got started.
So they approached the Grand Rapids Christian schools and said, we'd like to move into the school system. And the Grand Rapids Christian schools were hospitable yet cautious. And so the Christian Learning Center was formed to be a freestanding school, not a member school of the Grand Rapids Christian School Association, but more like a guest. And so space was carved out at what was then Seymour Christian School. And after a number of years of planning, the school launched in September of 1979. We hired Doug Bouman to be the first psychologist, school psychologist who could help teachers, parents, kids, and we began resource rooms with Joan Vanderband and Phil Stegink very early on to help local schools understand how they could meet the needs of students that express their learning needs as different. The next frontier inclusion was beyond my time, but the sense of including all kids into the educational milieu and serving all kids from that standpoint versus these kind of parallel pathways.
I remember very clearly sitting at an early morning meeting with Bear and several other of the early employees of the Christian Learning Center Network, and Bear had been at a conference, and he told us at this meeting about this radical idea of inclusive education.
Well, that did not go over swimmingly with many of the staff members. You know, we had worked hard in college to be teachers, right? Special ed teachers, and we were bound and determined to have our students and our classrooms. And Bear had heard of this idea, did some investigating, brought it back to the staff, made us attend this workshop in Kalamazoo, and we rode down together, and we just thought, what a stupid idea, really. This made no sense to us at all. You're going to take these students, you know, we were trained, we knew how to do this, right? Take the students that we were working with and put them in like a second grade or an 8th grade. It's pretty clear that within the space of, months? Bear really had to apply his finesse in moving a group of people, really just kept casting that vision. This is what's happening in Canada at a high school. Shouldn't we be thinking about it? Doesn't this remind you of 1 Corinthians 12? One body together in Christ. And so that kind of pushing, I suppose, I'm still trying to remember how on earth that could happen. It's a God thing. But moved from my thinking that was the worst idea ever to saying, hey, I'd really like to go start up the first program out at Zeeland Christian. So somehow Bear wove his magic, and that's where we ended up.
What do we say to other parents? Well, we think she had, the best education out there. Of course, we're biased, and if we didn't think it was the best, we wouldn't have kept her there. We wouldn't have kept her in that environment. But we think that Ada Christian, along with CLC, the way that they worked in partnership, did provide Annika with the best inclusive education out there. The education she received was catered to Annika's needs. And I think that's one of the things that CLC does too, is they cater their program according to the needs of the student. But the minute they could include her in Bible, in social studies, in PE, in band, in art, she was included. And like Rick mentioned, they did a fabulous job of adapting the curriculum so that Annika even didn't realize the curriculum was being adapted or didn't care. That her peers didn't realize that the curriculum was being changed so much, so that she really felt like she belonged in that classroom. Obviously she did belong in that classroom, but so that it was a good fit, I should say, in the classroom.
I have learned to be a good friend from John. John walks down the hallways and he knows everybody's name and he says hi to everybody, and I find that inspiring because even on my worst day, John can make me smile, and so that's something I love about John.
Well,
There's a time that it happens when you watch hope spread on somebody's face. You can watch God at work in that person's, in their expression. They know that it's possible. In fact, it might be the first time that somebody has said, your child's a gift. Your child's important. You as an adult, we need you in this community because you bring gifts that nobody else has. And when you watch hope dawn in somebody's face, it is absolutely contagious because that's what God is doing.
People with disabilities have experienced so much isolation, so much disconnection. They've been marginalized. Inclusive education webs people together. And it is a delight when that happens. When you experience it, as well as when you help others experience it, it just fills me up. And I've seen that in every single one of my cohorts at the Christian Learning Center, from Bear to all of the employees. There's a justice element to it. Yes, people with disabilities have a right to this, that, or the other thing. Christian education is not just a privilege for some, but is a privilege that all should have access to. I mean, you can talk about this in justice terms, for sure. But for me, that idea of shalom, that God's love for us is possible to embody in our love for each other. That God's love is such a wide, open embrace of all of us that we can't help but want to embrace everyone around us when we've felt it. It's really no more complicated than that. It's being loved and having that spill out as a response.
bringing our kid and watching the school open its doors and start to include kids and buy into this and really have some success and excitement and see it kind of grow. They've been through all that, and I'm sure they've had really difficult times when they were wondering, is this what we should be doing? I just would commend them and say, you know, wonderful work, job well done, and it's just exciting to think about how it's going to continue to change, but certainly the examples that they've left on how to deal with it, how to just be trusting, how to stay positive, and you know, be faithful, I guess. It's an amazing story. I think they should feel great about it, and you know, God's worked wonders through this first generation of leaders.
Well, I salute Bear and to the whole first generation. The pathway has been incredible. The journey has gone much further, I think, than those parents had originally hoped or dreamed about. That little small step they hoped for has turned into many, many, many steps. And so this first generation of leaders in Christian special education really need to be commended, and I commend them, and I'm grateful for them. I can see, both as a parent of a son with special needs and as a colleague in Christian ministry, that good things have happened, and it's because that a number of individuals have allowed themselves to be used by the Spirit to make great advances for the kingdom and Christian special education.